What's up, everybody? Al Pal 7 Day coming out with like video 3, I believe it is. And this is going to be setting up the wedding models. And this is just setting up the wedding models so we could put it in the database. And then we're going to, hopefully, if it's less than 30 minutes, and I could do it with, pretty quickly, I won't start another video. But my goal is to make the view show. So right now we're doing all this stuff in development mode. So when you see stuff in development mode, don't be upset that you're scaffolding things, and you'll see that as we go along. I'm gonna explain some stuff. Now the key's always been the key, and it's always been there since we started that from the beginning. So what do we need? We need a wedding. We need to plan our wedding. We need to get a wedding one, a wedding two, a date, and an address. Okay, so let's do that. Let's put that in there. So we put wed one like that, wed two, wed dates. This is just so I could just remember wed address. Oh, we could put Addy because we know what it is. Now, what I would suggest that you use the better naming conventions that I do, because my naming conventions are not always the greatest. Now, if you have a project, I'm guessing because I never worked in this field yet, you might want to do something like that. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do here. Since most of these are going to be public strings except for one, we're going to hold the Control and Alt button down because I have what they call it, I have the Visual Studio Code buttons, a keyboard. And if we press in front of everything, you could just do this public and put string like that. And then at the end of it all, we could put, once we do that, it gets it. And then we'll come over here and then we'll do that. I press space bar, not tab. You press tab it. All our addresses are done. This is obviously going to be a date time. That's the only one we're changing so far. So that's that. Let's Control S that so we don't mess it up. What do we need now for the weather one? Well, let's do the required. That's pretty important. And in the requirement mode, we're going to need a minimum length, right? Of 1, I said, because they're all both going to be first names, and a max length of I'm gonna go 50 with this one, and a display name, right? Let's put display, and then put name, and then put what is the name of this one? Weather one, bedwetter one. So that's that. So let's not do a lot of work. Let's Control C this, and let's put this on top of here. And this is going to be 2, right? Let's make that happen. And we're going to put this on top of here, but we're not going to worry about this. And we're going to change weather to wedding date. All right. And then we get rid of that. And we're also going to add, I know I do things a little bit weird. We're also going to add a data type. And the data type is going to be date time. So let's just type that in there. And this is going to be a date time that we're going to get from the front end. It's going to be so much easier. This is going to be a string. Let's do this as well. What this does is it stops the green lines saying it can't be non-nullable or whatever. I don't care. So let's go here, Control V. Now we want the wedding address to be a minimum of 50 and a maximum, just give it 1500. I don't care. And because some New York addresses are like 34th and 5th, and then you go down to 20 Lexington, it's like 301 apartment AB. What? That's all we're gonna need for that because it's an address. We might have to parse it when we use the Google API because I'm gonna learn all this stuff so I could be better at my craft. I don't know all this stuff by heart. I'm learning it just as I do it. It makes my life easier. One of the things that is not mentioned in here that we probably are going to need is an integer of the user ID like that. And then we just press tab. We also want a public user. Okay. And the user is going to be the creator. The creator, I believe it is, that we want here. And then we press tab here. Because the creator is the one that actually created it. The ID is for the person that's in the database now. So let's not get that confused. Let's come over here to the where we at? The user model, and let's copy and paste this because we still want this. Control C. So let's get out of there. And we want to put this here. Oh man, I messed that up. Let's try that again. I press Control C twice. So it happens to the best of us. Now I press Alt Shift F to make it look cleaner. But I do like one space between those, and this would be good right here. I like the spaces in between. It makes it more readable for me. Now, what are we gonna do here? We're gonna add this migration. How many minutes I got now? I'm at 5 minutes discussing this. So let's add migration. And the name of the migration is gonna be wedding model. So we do this after each model except the login model because it's not going inside the database. Now I talked about scaffolding, and then right here we're gonna see it say that it's gonna be highlighted in yellow. An operation with scaffold that may result in loss of data. Please review the migration for accuracy. However, we're not worrying about that, and we want to put update database. If we don't put update database, what's gonna happen? It's never gonna actually allow us to create this stuff. I got no red, so that means it worked. And this is basically everything that happened, and then everything that's changed. We added stuff for the most part. We didn't change the user, we just changed the wedding model. We added all the stuff on the wedding model. Now that the wedding model is actually added, we're gonna have to create a new validation. So let's come over here and let's add a new folder called validation. And the validation that we're gonna add is gonna be called, it's a class, and it's gonna be called past date attribute. Now the reason I'm adding it like this, and I'm not gonna put wedding past date because you could use it for anything. It doesn't have to be for the wedding attribute thing. But the reason I put it like this, when you write attribute, what happens here is that when you put it inside the front side, because it's a type of attribute, you only have to put past date and you don't have to write attribute. So let's just put that in there for now. All right, and I'm gonna make this easy for me, and I'm gonna look along as I have this validation already done. I've done it months ago, and so let's just do this. Now this is gonna be coming from the validation attribute, I believe it's called. Control period, and we're gonna put system data annotations. So that's cool. Now we gotta do a protected override stuff right here, and this is the validation results, like so. If you spell result right, it'll do that for you. And then it's real easy. Is valid. You know how we do it's just saying go to the validations. So the is valid is part of, when we say is model state is valid. So that helps that out. And inside of, we got to put the right parentheses. You want to put like object. And then next to it, you want to put value. This is going to come from the value. The value is coming from the object of the date itself. So we don't want our wedding. We don't want our wedding date. Where is that? We don't want to put a question mark here. We don't really need to, so we don't want to put a question mark there anyway. Okay. And let me see. It's required. Yeah. So this validation, we're actually going to add to that. And we're going to put validation context. As you can see there. And I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be looking at this stuff to make sure I say it correctly. Oh. Guess what? It's giving me all the information I kind of like need here. It's like, what's going on, Shen? So we're gonna put if date time dot now is greater than. Okay, we gotta put these in here. Date time value. So what this is saying. So I understand this code because I wrote it before, but sometimes when you forget, we're not gonna return that. We could do that, and then we're just gonna return new. And let me just finish this validation result right here. And inside the validation result is you can't schedule a wedding in the past full. Now this is great, and this is still like what's going on. It's because you want to also put another return value, and not base. You want to put validation result like that, and dot, and then success if it's proper, if it's good to go. Now we're gonna have this here. Possible no reference. We're gonna have that there. We don't even have this thing set up, so we're gonna press Control S. Now this validation rule is so we don't put anything in the past. So I'm just making sure I copied this correctly. Now you see how that it could be no value. We're not worried about that. So this is actually done. This is how you create validations for your stuff. Now on the wedding date, where is it? Wedding date. We want to actually put that here at the end. We could do past date. You know what I'm saying, like that. If I spelled it right, what did I name it as? Past date. That should be working in the front line. Let's see what we did with the validations. Did I save everything properly? Control SS. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I could have messed up. Let's see. This should be it. I'm just looking at the code I did the other day. I was trying to remember how to do it. So we got this thing going on. System component model data annotation. That's right. We got the reading, the public class pass date attribute, validation attribute. I want to make sure I spelled that right. And protected validation result. Validation result. Yep, it's valid. I'm looking at my code because I wrote the code on my laptop. I do everything on my laptop before I do it on my desktop, and it's the same. I call it wed planner instead of wedding planner. So I just called it wed. I didn't even call it planner. So I'm making sure everything is correct, and trying to find out where this. You get a daytime menu. Okay, and trying to find out where I went wrong. So it's. If you do that, that's fine. If you do it twice to make sure you're trying to make sure things are right, and you try to, you want to do it on your better computer, that makes sense. Now let's see. Now I have it on my wedding date as you know what I did was I actually made sure it wasn't on here, which is crazy. Let's file save all. Sometimes that might work, but I made sure it was on a different line. But this should work unless I spell attribute wrong. Past date attribute. Hold on a second. Yeah, that should work. This oh, you know what? Press Control period. What is wrong with me? Validation. I forgot. You got to bring in the validations, and it'll work. It'll work on anything. Like it'll work here too. Like you can put past date here. I'm so dumb sometimes. Sometimes you forget things, so you can put it in the same line. I kind of like it on a different line because it's personal validations. We shouldn't need to remigrate. So let's add migration wedding model 2 just in case. it might say nothing happened. It's like it looks nothing happened on it, but I'm going to update the database anyway so we can have the validation. You shouldn't have to update your validations in here into the model. This will just help it so it could do it right. I guess it updated it. I don't know. It didn't tell me it did anything. So I do it just in case. So in the future, I know I did it. And then when you look at your migration, she's like, wedding model 2. And then you'd be like, you could change that. You could, instead of saying wedding model 2, like updated validation for wedding model 2. It's better to have a better naming convention than myself, because then you'll understand what's going on in your code. Like in the future, I had a problem with this before. So let's see how much time we got. For 15 minutes. So my goal is to do a context with this and not the front end yet. So I mean not a context, a controller with this. So let's add a controller. And I'm just gonna go like this, and I'm gonna call it wedding controller. And like you saw with the attribute thing, the attribute like the past date attribute stuff. That's why we only call it wedding controller. Now I'm gonna call this dashboard versus index because I don't want the name to be that. And with that being said, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna look at my wedding controller over here because I know most of it by heart. But that one's actually more confusing. I actually have a DTO in it, but it wasn't working properly. So I'm still working on that. Like it works properly with just the user. It doesn't work properly with the wedding and getting all the stuff from the database the way you want it to be. So with that, let's come back to user controller real quick. Let's copy this right here. And this, we're going to change this one to wedding controller. So it's going to be like, what? What's going on? What's a wedding context? Control period dash. What is this? Wedding controller. I'm saying. All right. So with that, let's go down to where we actually create. We're going to go to HTTP get like so. And we're going to go to public action result. And we're going to call this add wedding, and it's not going to have anything in it, so that's pretty cool. And then we're going to put return view and like that, and then we're just basically going to copy this and we're going to paste it. Yes, paste it. And we're not worried about that because we're going to get this to be a post. Oops. Now another way, yeah, we're not worried about that. So we're gonna get this to be a post, and we're gonna call it a wedding model. And it doesn't know what wedding model is yet. So what? Why would it do that? Control Z, and let's get rid of that. And let's put control period to add in the models and bring the models in. And we're gonna put whatever it wants it to say there. We're gonna put wed for wedding. So this is where it gets a little bit different, especially the way I have it. And yeah, this is where I confuse myself. So we're going to create wedding. I'm just going to put add wedding. That word add is so much easier to write. So the first thing is we're going to have to create a user in database up here. So let's put a get user. This is going to be public user like that. And we're gonna put get user like that, and we're gonna put user, and it doesn't matter because we're doing it in a different context. And we're gonna put a return that's gonna satisfy this right here, but it's like return what? And we're gonna return the HTTP context, right, dot session, because you have to be logged in to create a wedding. And now we're gonna get int 32 like that, and in here we need something in here. This is not going to satisfy it properly. Oh no, we're gonna have to make this different. We're gonna have to make it a DB context. So let's make it. Didn't I do this already? No, I didn't. So let's make this a DB context like this. Okay, first of all, let's just get rid of that real quick. Bam. And we're gonna go to DB context dot users dot first or default, and then we're gonna get user slash like this, and then we get user dot user ID equals user. Actually, we don't need this in here. We don't need that in there because this is what we're gonna get. We're gonna get the HTTP context. This is gonna give us the session stuff that I'm talking about. Get entity 32 like that, and then we're gonna have to put that in there. And now this will satisfy this. It's gonna be like, could be nullable. Of course, it could be nullable. If it's not nullable, well, we did it wrong. Now this is not satisfied because it needs that. So let's go to our user controller one more time to see what did we set the session name to be. Control C. See user using database. We could do that same thing that we did in here, and make our lives easier in there as well in this user controller. So let's actually just do that. This is all we need. Control C. We come in here. We're gonna add that right here, and then this will look so much neater if we just put get user, right, like that. And then of course we need those, and it's gonna return the user like that. This is the user in the database. Whatever is in the session is the user that we're finding that's in the database that's connected to our, the user that's on the site right this section. I mean, right this time frame that, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So we're going to save this right here. Then we're going to close it out. And we're not done here at all. How much time I have? I'm trying to rush this. I got kind of like 10 minutes. I'm trying to go less than 10 minutes. So we got the wedding wed. And like I said, sometimes this is where I get confused because I rewrite the code and try to make it different and try to use this, that, use that. So what we have to do is put user right here, and we could call it I'm gonna call it user in DB get user, right? That's what we called it. And I should have just pressed tab. If user in database is not null, we want it to be is not null. Let's put not null. Then we want to put if model state dot is valid, because if it's null, then we're gonna return the view, because we're actually gonna not return to view. We should be returning redirect to action, because if they don't find the user in the database, this is gonna be a redirect to action. Redirect. I can't spell today. There it is right there. Oop. Permanent. Nope. We're not doing that. We're gonna return redirect to action, and we're gonna put it as the index of, you know what I'm saying, of the home. That's what we're gonna put it as, and then yeah, that'll be work for that. So now if the model state is valid, so well, we don't have to check anything else, right? Because if it's not valid, you're gonna get all those validation errors in the front end. So if it's not valid, we're gonna put wedding dot user ID wed dot user ID, and we're gonna say equals the user in database dot user ID. So that's one line right there. Okay, we're not gonna equals, we gotta get. Wow, I didn't know I pressed that twice. Now that the user ID for the wedding user ID is proper, that's because the user ID is the guy that's the wedding ID for the user ID is the person that's in the site right now. It's not the same as the creator. So we're gonna put DB context like that. We're gonna go to weddings now, and then we're gonna put add, and then we're gonna put wed, and that's simple. And then what do we have to do? DB context, and then we're gonna do here. We're gonna put save changes, right? And that's that. And then we're gonna return redirect to action, and it's not gonna be index anymore because we are actually gonna be calling this a show wedding. I'm just gonna call it show wed. That wedding name is too long, so we're gonna call it show wed. Now I have it here that I'm adding the wedding ID, so I'm passing the wedding ID here. So wedding. So let's do that. So let's comma, and let me see. Is it the wedding? Yes, the wedding ID. Wed ID. That looks funny. And the reason I'm passing this is because we're gonna show the wedding. It's easier to just do it this way. Just trust me, because this is the reason why we're gonna show wed, and we're gonna pass the wedding ID. Okay. Now that's gonna go to our dashboard, and that's where everything is gonna work. We gotta put a show wedding. Oh no, this is gonna. Let me see. I got this right. It's not gonna go to our dashboard. When we create it, we gotta show the wedding here, right here. So what we want to show, whose weddings it is. We want to show the dashboard. To click on the dashboard to come back here, and the logouts. Now I don't have. We have that stuff that it has an upwards navigational. We could add all that stuff, but for right now, instead of worrying about the the navigational bar on the top and doing this stuff. I just want to add the date, and I want to add the guest if there's any guest, and I'm trying to learn the Google Map IDs. I have an API to display the wedding's address on the map. I just don't know how to get the wedding address to the map. That's my issue with that. So we're gonna work on that later. So we gotta work on this right here for the front end now, and the show ID. So how much time I got? I got 5 minutes. Let's do the show ID. The show ID is something simple, so we could work on that. And let's put a, like I said, I do everything a little bit different than some people, and then sometimes I do it the same as others. So we're gonna put and I'm not putting this validate anti-forgery token right now because it messes up on my code, and we're using a SQL Server, so it's a little bit different, and I'm gonna learn how to fix that as well. I'm on my learning phases. I stopped coding, and I'm restarting the coding with this wedding planner because I memorized a lot of the stuff from it. So, like I said, I coded this already. So, because we want a public iAction result, of course, and then we wanted to go show wed, right? That's what we called it, show wed, like that. And inside the wed, we're gonna put integer and then ID. Doesn't matter because we're passing in the ID as wed.wedID. That's what that does. So we're gonna return view like this and like that for now, so it can satisfy the hunger of the red line. Okay. Okay, so the wedding that we're gonna show is the one that we passed in, and we gotta get that wedding from the database now. So we're gonna get a wedding, and we're gonna go to we go to wed. We just put wed gets, and now we're gonna go db context dot weddings. Right, okay, weddings, and then we're gonna put dot first or default, right, like that, and then we're gonna come in here and put wed ID like that, the Lambert expression wed dot ID dot wed ID equals ID. There you go. I press tab twice. Now it's saying this could be null. No kidding. That's why we do checks. If wed is not null, I like to put if wed is null. I like to say equals null. To me, it's a little bit easier that way. If it's not null, we're gonna return the view. If it's well, we're not null. If it's null, we're gonna redirect to action. Index wedding. Okay, that makes no sense to me. Oh, that's control. Okay, never mind. Because my index, like I said, I did it different there. So we're gonna return. Hell no. We're gonna use that later on. Like if there's, it might be not probably later on. I'm gonna update this wedding planner because it shows you all the CRUD operations. But we're gonna redirect to action. And in here, we're gonna go to the dashboard. And that should be the action that we needed. So let's do that. All right. So this is redirect to action. If it's null, if it's not null, we're gonna return the view, and we're gonna go to wed right here, right? So we're returning the view with the wed in there. And that's how you kind of like create this, and then it shows this. So show wed.ID is this is happening in the back end, and you're gonna see the ID and on top of you're gonna see the ID like right here, like it's supposed to be. I don't know what this is about. This doesn't even have wedding and nothing like that, so you're not gonna be able to see it like that. See how it has /dashboard? You know that's what you're gonna see. So for the most part, that's it for the show wedding. And what I got, 2 minutes, 1 minute. So I'm gonna stop this video right now, and we're gonna do the rest of it in the next video.